And Friends Nation. Today I'm going to be doing another one of my more ranty videos. So I hope you guys can understand this and kind of understand where I'm coming from. So if you guys haven't noticed, apparently on the other side of the country, i.e. California, it's gone from $14 an hour for fast food to $20 an hour. Now, a lot of people are talking about how this is backfiring because business owners are deciding to fire people and throw in kiosks because of an artificial wage hike. Now, I actually want to sit there and ask you a question. How artificial do you actually think this wage hike is? Because as somebody who actually grew up with business, I know I'm just a weird cat dad who works in retail and happens to do gaming, but believe it or not, I actually grew up with parents who had business degrees, who had accounting degrees, who ran their own small business. And I've also been to culinary school, which means that I actually learned how to run a restaurant, which is weirdly right up my alley when you're talking about wages for fast food restaurants or restaurants in general. So let's really look at how quote-unquote artificial this is. First and foremost, I want to make it very clear that when it comes to employee wages, wages for your employees are ultimately based not just on what the business owner, wants to pay, but also on the cost it is to the employees to live. Because when you're paying somebody's wages, basically what you're saying is, I'm taking on the cost of your living so that you'll go do this thing for me. Whether it's flipping burgers, making sandwiches, it doesn't matter. You're basically saying on some point and level, I'm going to pay you a reasonable amount that will cover your costs with a little extra so that you can actually go spend a little money, whether it's buying something a little nice for yourself, basically giving the employee a small bit of profit for their own sake, so that they have a reason to keep coming back to work. Because people in general are not bound to show up to work if the job doesn't even cover their costs. If you can't pay rent or literally anything with what you're being paid, you're not going to show up. It would be insanity for you to show up and go to work for someone who's not even paying you enough to cover your bills. So let's really talk about how much it actually costs to live anywhere in the U.S. Now, the average across the nation right now for just a studio apartment, basically an apartment that, in my case, I live in one, so I know about it, in some cases is literally just a bed built into your wall with a tiny small kitchen and a bathroom. Something one step above a dorm room, okay? Not anything fancy, not anything super amazing, just a basic living quarters is costing $1,300 across the nation. Now, if that boggles your brain, buckle in, because you're about to enjoy a lot of numbers here, because we're going to be doing some math. So break out your calculator if you need to follow along. Gods know I'm going to be doing a little of that myself here and there. Now, that's just your apartment. Now, for a studio apartment, power can range anywhere from $50 to $100, depending on the season, so there's a little wiggle room there. Internet can be anywhere from $50 to $100 as well, depending on the grade of internet that you're getting, whether you're getting the uber best internet or just bare basics package. And a lot of bare basic packages are at least $60 a month. So with just power and internet, we're already looking at $1,400 to $1,500. But wait, there's more. The average car payment, not even insurance, car payment, and not even for like a super souped up car or like the best car in the world. We're talking like your grandma's jalopy, okay? 15 grand car. is anywhere from $500 to $700 a month from most banks. Oh, we just rocketed over $2,000 a month to live on, folks. And we haven't even added food yet. We haven't added food. We haven't added insurance. We haven't added phone bills. Oh, it's getting ugly. So, we were already at $1,500 to $1,400 or $1,400 to $1,500 plus another $500 to $700. So you're looking at anywhere from $1,900 to $2,000. Oh, Nelly, buddy. Oh, ouch. Oh, and by the way, car insurance can be anywhere from $250 to $300 a month. Now you're talking $2,250 to $2,300 a month. And by the way, you're legally required to have car insurance. You have to have that by law. Oof. Your average phone bill, by the way, is roughly around $60 a month if you're going through a normal phone package. Not to mention that you're going to be paying for the phone, which is usually another $200 a month. Now, if you're smart like me, you have a prepaid phone, it's still anywhere from $30 to $40 a month for the bare minimum package. So, still right around $2,340 to $2,350. Now, if you tack on food bills per month, now you're looking at another $200 to $400 a month just in food. Ouch. At the cheaper end, that means we're still looking at $2,550 in living expenses. Do you know how much you make at $14 an hour? I do. Before taxes, you're talking about approximately $2,000. Not enough to live on, folks. So how artificial is it really to sit there and go, oh, $20 an hour is artificial? No, it's actually under what the genuine market price for labor should genuinely be at the lower end. If the lowest that the average living cost is over $2,000, you gotta pay more than that. And experts usually tell you that your living expenses should be a third of your income. Which means that employers, if they really wanted to pay what experts genuinely say they had to pay, would be paying anywhere from $7,000 a month to $8,000. Yeah. You want to talk about $20 an hour being just so expensive, but you're not even paying what experts are saying that people should be making in order to actually live and thrive. So maybe pipe down a little there. Now, if you want to talk about what about the expenses to the employer, well, this is where restaurant knowledge comes in handy. See, when it comes to a restaurant, you generally want to charge about 3 times what it actually costs you to run a restaurant. And that 3 times cost is based on per plate, meaning per each individual meal that the customer orders. Chicken, fish are relatively cheap, with beef being on the more expensive side. But if you're talking about fast food like McDonald's, let's look at McDonald's specifically, okay? Now, people do get McDonald's mixed up because the corporation itself does not make its money selling burgers. It makes its money by selling real estate, franchises. Basically, for those of you not familiar with the idea, a franchise is basically where someone rinse the McDonald's logo and decals in the whole shebang. Basically, McDonald's is technically run by someone else who technically, quote unquote, owns the building, but they're basically renting the ability to use the McDonald's name. Now, part of this agreement is they have to purchase, of course, their food and everything that they sell from McDonald's. And usually it comes to about 30% of whatever income that they make. Now, that being said, however, you gotta consider the following details. McDonald's actually owns their own farms, whether it's chicken, pork, fish, you name it. And they buy in bulk, which means that per capita, the burgers that you're actually buying are actually going to be a lot cheaper than anything that you would get normally out of the market, okay? And so per sandwich, you're talking about normally anywhere from, say, 25 cents for buns, 50 cents for a patty, 50 to 25 cents for cheese. Yeah, it's not that expensive. You'd be surprised at how cheap it is to actually make a McDonald's burger. So usually McDonald's burgers with buns, patty, cheese, you're looking around, say, $1.25 before you add employee. And by the way, at $20 an hour, do you want to know how much that is per sandwich? Since it only costs the employee 1 minute to make that sandwich? 33 cents. For 33 cents a minute, they want you to pay an extra $8 a meal. I shit you not. At $14 an hour, they were paying 23 cents a minute. So for the cost of a dime per sandwich, they want you to pay $8. Yeah. That's some BS right there. They know it. I know it. And now you kind of know it. See, the whole thing about this kind of thing is that these same business owners don't expect you to know what I know about restaurants and how business operates. They expect you to basically ignore everything I've ever said or anybody says and just listen to them and listen to how they're just so downtrodden and hurt and, oh, it's so hard to pay people money. But the reality is it's not that expensive for them. In fact, they make way more money per sandwich than you ever spend, than they actually spend on that thing. For example, remember how I said it's usually around $1.25, $1.50 for that sandwich? Even if you want to go for the $1.25, adding the 33 cents, it's only like $1.58 a sandwich. Guess what? What is $1.58 times 3? It's usually around $7. And I hate to tell you, French fries and a soda aren't that much more expensive. It costs them like 10 cents a large for a large cup of soda. I shit you not. In fact, if you do it, actually, I take that back. I actually went back through and did it on the calculator. It's $4.74 a sandwich is what you would actually be paying if you paid the textbook 3 times charge. And I mean textbook. That's literally coming out of my culinary textbook. Yet they want you to pay $20 a meal. Let's divide that, shall we? $1.58 divided by 20. Or I should say 20 times 20 divided by $1.58. is 12.66 times the actual cost per sandwich, per meal. And they want to pretend that they're not making enough money to pay people. These people are insane. Keep in mind as well that that the average McDonald's sells anywhere from 500 to 1,200 sandwiches a day. Just a day. So, let's say, even if you wanted to add the fries and all that to it, right? So that's about 10 cents for a soda. I'll even be generous and say it's another 20 cents for fries. And you subtract that from the $12 that they want to charge you, they're making $10.12 off of that in profit. Now, what is $10.12 times the minimum of the average burger sales, sandwich sales, 500? Assuming that every single one of those sandwiches comes in a meal. They're making a profit of $5,060 a day. Times that by 365, that is $1,846,900 for a year. And one of the people being interviewed, by the way, owns 16 of these. So, in pure utter profit, they'd be making $29,550,400 a year in profit. I don't know about you, but I'd say that's more than enough. Just selling it at $12, and they want to charge you $20 a meal now. For, again, an increase of 10 cents a sandwich. Yeah. Now, from a business perspective, again, one of the main reasons why you should want to pay people good wages is the fact that you, as the business person, understands that your employees have to not only be able to pay their wages, but also the fact that if you don't, someone else will. Which means that somebody else is going to get that well-productive employee. They're going to get that person who's going to show up every day, do their job, go home, put in the extra work. You end up losing out on your best employees because you refuse to pay them well. Now, from a grander economic scale, the reason why you want to pay people enough money to actually live on is kind of the same point that the economy is like any other ecosystem. If you remove any subsection out of it, you end up with everything collapsing. Now, people are like, well, they could just put in machines. Yeah, but the problem with machines is, unfortunately, the ATM can take your order, but it doesn't buy anything. In the grand scheme of economics, replacing people with machines is a dead end, and a very stupid one at that. Because if you remove the lowest rung of society's ability to make money, you kind of screw yourself. Because there's one of two things that happen. Either everyone stops buying, which you go out of business, which is very highly likely because fast food especially is a luxury item. And when people can't afford to make a living, they're just not going to spend luxury money on anything. They're going to hoard what money they can get. They're going to try and save it as much as they can. Or you end up with universal income, which is where the government finally figuring out that since you absolutely will not pay people a dime more than you have to, and the fact that you are demanding that if you have to pay more to people, that you're just going to replace them with robots, Well, the government can't exactly allow the economy to collapse, so they institute universal income, which means you now have to pay more taxes. Which means at the end of the day, you can either keep the government completely out of it by just paying more in general, paying attention to what it costs for people to live, and just pay above that so that people have enough profit to show up, come in, do their job, and do it happily, and you don't have people complaining about being able to, wanting or demanding more pay. Or, while also maintaining your prices the same, because here's the little funny trick. If you keep the prices the same, people buy more. See, say what you will about somebody like Henry Ford, because yeah, he had some pretty bonkers ideas in the past to some extent. He did kind of, demonstrate to the world that if you pay people good money, you give them good time off, and keep your prices at a reasonable rate, you sell more. Because it's a funny thing about how human beings react economically. If we have spare cash and the time to spend it, we spend it. If we don't have spare time and spare cash, we don't buy anything. Because we're too busy trying to hoard our money to kind of keep ourselves from going homeless, to feed ourselves, to put clothes on our back. These things are important. They're required for a human being to live and be healthy. And as a business owner, you don't want your people to be sick. Because generally speaking, sick people either don't show up or they make everyone else sick, which eventually causes a health hazard, which ends up closing your doors anyway. At which point, if you have to close your doors, you're not making money at all. And every day that business is not open is money out of your pocket, because you still have to pay for everything. At the end of the day, it's better to just pay people. It's not rocket science. It's better to have human beings who are paid decent money who will then spend that money when they have free time off. It's like we've gone back 100 years in just understanding of how economics and how capitalism is supposed to work to an extent. Now, hopefully, these people are thinking that, maybe the government will bail me out. Not necessarily. The problem with the government is they're just like TikTok and several other social media companies are kind of finding out the hard way, is the government's kind of a fickle ally. Especially if you're talking about a democratic country like the United States, or a democratic republic to be more specific. The fact is, these people still have to have popular opinion behind them to keep their jobs. If the masses are suddenly unable to make their living, they're unable to pay their bills and take care of themselves or their families, they're not going to elect the same guy over and over again who isn't putting in the effort to try and make these corporations do, quite frankly, something they've already should have been doing. As a business owner, you should already be wanting to pay a market price for your employment. The fact of the idea is that you need employees to make money so that people will buy your goods. Because the other option is trying to force every other industry to lower their prices. And unfortunately, I don't know about you, but I don't think these people have the power to convince all of their friends to lower their prices just so that everyone doesn't have to spend more money paying employees. It's just not happening. And from a personal perspective, I'd say that a lot of these same business owners really and truthfully seem to have the habit of they want the good profit from being a business owner, but they don't want to seem to actually have to pay the costs to actually run a business. And unfortunately, to make money from a business, you have to spend money. You have to throw money back into that business for you to actually make anything from it. You have to take care of the business to make sure that the equipment works, that the employees are well paid and happy, so that they can be productive and be more willing and able to interact with customers so that the customer experience goes up. And in the restaurant business especially, customer experience and interaction is really damn important. Because a customer's experience can either make or break your business, regardless of whether you're fast food or just a regular restaurant. Something we got taught in culinary school was that one bad experience per customer could lose you anywhere from 10 to thousands of customers. Because each person who has a bad experience is going to tell their 10 friends. Those 10 friends will tell each of their 10 friends, and so on and so forth, creating a snowball effect. Either you kind of need to pay attention to word of mouth and succeed by actually proving that you're a good business owner and you invest your money back into your business, which will then generate more money, or you try and cut costs by improving nothing and then wondering why your business collapses around your ears, which is ultimately what's going to happen to a lot of these business owners. I'm going to be honest. Because if they're not willing to put the money back into the business to make sure that it's running properly, it's going to bite them in the ass in an unpleasant manner. And eventually, it's going to cause them to go out of business. Whether because everybody decides they don't want to pay anybody, so now nobody has money, so now no one's making any money. Turns out that, yeah, that's how economics works. It's a free flow of cash. People have to both make and earn money, i.e., being able to make a wage in order to spend it. And if nobody's earning money to make that money, to be able to spend it, nobody's making any money. Nobody's going to go out and buy anything if they can't afford it. It's pretty simple. And you can't exactly rely on people having credit cards either, which, by the way, credit cards will just increase the amount of money that people have to pay every month, which increases the amount that you, the business owner, then have to pay them. So maybe instead of crying and whining about, oh my God, I have to pay $20 an hour for people flipping burgers, which, by the way, I understand that people will also state that, well, why should we have to pay these people to flip burgers? Isn't this a teenage job? Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you there, boomers, but here's a little news flash for you. In the last 50 years, America has gone from a manufacturing economy to a service economy. The biggest employers in this country right now are McDonald's and Walmart. All the manufacturing we had back in the 70s and 80s was because during the rebuilding from the Second World War, a lot of people just bought their stuff from us in America. Now that these countries have rebuilt, they have their own factories. They're not buying from America because they're building their own shit. We're not making toasters for Germany anymore. Germany is just making German toasters. So now the mass majority of America's business, especially since a lot of baby boomers basically shut down their parents' at-home businesses or small-town businesses because they didn't want to have to deal with the cost of running a business or the hassle or risk of it. And the mass majority of jobs left now are service jobs. Answering phones, flipping burgers, and helping people on a register. Yeah. Now, there are still some jobs that are hard work. Like, dirty jobs does highlight a lot of them. But the problem with these kind of jobs, as well as college-level jobs, is that getting them requires a lot of money. Just to get a CDL certification or a commercial driver's license certification to drive truck can cost you $20 grand. $20,000. That's not cheap. And it's the same with a lot of other certifications. Not only that, but you have to spend months to years in school to get certified. So during this entire time, you still have to make money to be able to actually pay your bills, put clothes on your back, food in your stomach, during the entire time that you're doing this. None of this even points out to the fact that college itself is extremely hard. Getting these certifications are extremely hard because the training, schooling, and education in order to do all of these things is not easy. It takes a lot of effort, time, and strength of will to be able to get through all of this education process. So unless we have a means for people to make money without having to do all that, because let's be honest, a good majority of human beings are not capable or do not have the patience, willpower, and ability to deal with all that. It's expensive, and there's no guarantee that you're actually even going to get a job in those fields. So really, we have to pay attention. We have to try and encourage and explain to business owners why it is important for them to actually pay a living wage, not necessarily for the employee, if not for the employee's sake, for their own sakes, for the sake of their own business, so that they don't have to shutter their doors because everyone's run out of money and they played a big part in it. Because the choices for them is ultimately going to be you either pay people the wages out of your own free will, or you're going to have to pay those wages via government order one way or another, whether it's through increased minimum wage or worse, universal income. Because increased minimum wage costs, like we've already seen, like 10 cents more a sandwich. But if you're dealing with universal income, it's going to increase your taxes a lot. It's going to get a lot more expensive. Well, this has been my rant today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. We're going to get back to our normal Gundam building gameplay and other videos here again. So I hope to see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned, everybody. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button. And also, just a little personal side note, I'm going to be honest here. YouTube has definitely been trying to come after my channel really, really, really hard lately. Like, TWT videos, for one, we had a really super popular one that they knocked down to the floor. Like, we're talking, it showed we had thousands of views on that thing. And they knocked it down to like 13. Now, granted, as we're recording that same video, TWT George Likes Lasagna has now, started skyrocketing back up to where it was. But it's pretty clear that YouTube is very much on a warpath against my channel. In fact, if you look up Isaac and Friends, you're lucky if you see a single one of my videos. And I've done this experiment several times. So really, really, really please, if you enjoyed this video, help share it out, help get it out there. Help me fight the algorithm and whoever at YouTube seems to be intent on trying to kill this channel, no matter what it takes. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Take care, everyone, and have a safe day.